Hello everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a little tag that I decided to do today. I wasn't tagged in it, but I was feeling like I was sitting in bed trying to think of like all the videos I could film, and I realized I hadn't really done a tag video in a while, and I really enjoy these just simply because they're kind of fun and they're quick, and the answers to the questions can be really interesting sometimes. But I ended up scrolling through YouTube and trying to find a springy tag to do, and I ended up finding the Spring has sprung tag, which is so fun, and I will tag the original creator down below. Her video is still up, and I am just going to get right into it. So technically it's not spring yet when this is going up. Spring is March 19th, but we're very, very close to it. And also, since I'm in Canada, spring is not until like most way through April because there's a lot of snow on the ground, but the sun is out, it's a little bit warmer, and it just feels a little bit brighter outside, so I felt that this was a perfect time to do a spring book tag. Without further ado, let's just dive right into the questions. Number one is flowers. All the flowers that we remember are blooming again. So this one is pick a fresh take on a retelling, and I was going to take like the Marissa Meyer like Cinder series, but then I was like, you know what, no, it's just a Cinderella retelling, and I was like, what about a different Cinderella retelling that doesn't really get promoted as a Cinderella retelling all the time? That is The Baron and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I think this is a Cinderella retelling because it has that trope of like, so I think this is a Cinderella retelling simply because it's framed in the same way. It has the like girl loses her mother and has to grow up with her father and then a bunch of siblings, and then one day he decides to remarry and her stepmother is an absolute menace, but so much so that it affects the entire world, or entire village, not world, around them. So this is a Russian inspired fantasy novel that is super atmospheric and set in the 1400s in Russia wilderness, and it follows Vasya, who is this girl who is the Cinderella basically, and she, as I said, her mother dies on her birth, and like she is raised by her siblings and her father, and then her father decides one day to remarry, and then her stepmother comes in and she's super devoutly religious and can see demons everywhere, so she's like trying to convert this entire village into it, but because she's doing this, the old gods, which is what she sees as demons, are disappearing and the land is suffering because of it, and there's this huge dark force that's coming to attack, and that's all I'm going to say. And it's wonderful. It's super, super atmospheric, and highly suggest you pick it up. So the next question is Cadbury mini eggs, obviously the superior treat, and I totally agree with this prompt. I love Cadbury mini eggs with all my heart, but this one is pick a book that you think is a sweet treat, and I pick Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. It is the most recent romantic-y type book that I've read, and because it's a YA, it's like really clean and just so sweet and is cheesy, and I think it's a perfect pick for this. So it is basically about two kids. We have Pepper and Jack, and they are the son and daughter of a little deli in New York and a big like burger chain respectively, and they get into a Twitter war. But there's also so much more going on in this book. It is incredible, but yes, sweet treat. Every single page made me smile and laugh, and it was amazing, so definitely pick it up. The next prompt is seasonal allergies. Name a book that made you cry, and I went with the most recent one because if you don't know, I'm a super emotional person and I cry very easily at books and commercials and songs and just across the board. But this one I think really works for it because it is The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. I literally just finished this yesterday. I read it and finished it yesterday all in one go. It is fan-friggin-tastic, but it is a story of Nannerl, the Nannerl Mozart, the older sister of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. We all know his story, we don't know hers, and this is her story mixed with fantasy elements, and it is just incredible. And this whole story just is kind of bittersweet because you know going in from the very first page that, like, you don't remember Nannerl, right? Her story was never told. She was not remembered by history. She's only remembered as Wolfgang's sister. And so it has that gentle bittersweetness throughout the way, all the way through, and there's just hard decisions in here, and the ending made me cry, and I was just so emotional reading this, and it was just so good, and I highly recommend you pick this up. Even if you don't know music very well, I think you're gonna love it. But if you know music and you know Mozart and you are like me and you've studied music your whole life, then this is going to hit you some type of way that just does, you know? Oh, it's so fantastic. I can't wait to reread this. That's how I feel about this book. I can't wait to reread it forever. And I highly recommend you listen to Mozart's piano pieces as you read this, because it just makes it so much better. Anyways, the next book is a spring uncleaning one. Spring uncleaning? Yes, Jenna, that's how you say things. Spring clean. Pick a book to unhaul. Now, if you remember, I did a massive unhaul at the end of 2019, and there's not really any books on my shelves that I'm like super, like, I want to get rid of, but I did some thinking. I think I'm going to mark The Devouring Grey as a unhaul, because this, though I picked it up very recently and I tried to read it, I got a little ways through. It was a DNF for me. That's all I'm going to say. So I don't think I should keep this on my shelves much longer. When I do my next unhaul, this will be book number 1 in it, but someone else will love this more than me, because I know a lot of people really like this series, and I'm just not one of them. Alright, Spring Break, the next one. It is time for a trip. And so this one is like, pick a book with a road trip in it, and I was sitting there, I was like, I don't read any like super intense contemporaries with road trips. And then I was like, well, I could do like Pride and Prejudice, where Elizabeth goes on a road trip around the country, or I could pick, like, you know, what is that one, by Margaret Matson, the something epic detour. I could pick that one, but then I was like, no, we're gonna pick the OG, the best road trip novel, and that is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I picked this because it is an adventure novel. The entire thing is an adventure novel. I was gonna pick Lord of the Rings, but then I was like, why would I do that when I could just pick The Hobbit, because it is all road trip. I mean, so is Lord of the Rings. Like, the entire trilogy is basically just road trip, you know, adventure. And it's like, it's about the journey rather than the end, and that's what this is. And I think that's what road trips are really about. They're like, it's about the road trip to get to the destination. It's not about the destination, you know? Not all the time. I know sometimes when people take road trips nowadays, it's just to get somewhere, but definitely this one. If you don't know what this is about, where have you been for the past ever? This is about Bilbo Baggins, who goes on an adventure. He turns 50, Gandalf the wizard comes and knocks at his door, and he goes on an adventure, and he ends up finding a ring, and then they end up going to free a mountain, and it's great, and it's awesome, and read it, because it's really, really good. And I'm really glad I read it. I'm really glad my friend made me read these. She got me to read these, and I'm really glad I did, because they're really, really good. But yeah, anyways, road trip novel, The Hobbit. So the next one is a little weird. When I read it, I was like, okay, but I get the point behind it. So it's mating season with all these new babies coming out in spring. What's a book that has a lot of smutty elements in it? And quite honestly, I had a good chuckle at this one. And the first book that came to mind was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This book is steamy in places, and it's also like really, really wholesome, and really, like, it makes you feel really good, because this is about a girl named Chloe Brown who has a chronic illness, and she decides to take life by the horns and actually get a life. So she makes a list of all these things that she thinks she needs to do to thus get a life. And she moves out of her parents' house, or her grandma's house, I can't remember exactly, her family house, because her grandma's there too. and moves into an apartment complex, and then she meets her superintendent, Redford, and things ensue from there. But yeah, very smutty. Just so you know going in, these scenes are very steamy, and they're very, very good. But yes, definitely pick this up. I super enjoyed this. We read this for our lovely ladies book club a few months ago. Was it the first read of January? I can't remember, but I think it was the first read of January. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong on the screen, but it was so good. I will also link this live show down below if you want to go check it out and hear all of our thoughts, Avery's and Ashley's and mine. But yes, it was so good. Number 7 is rainbows. Because, you know, in spring it's always bright and sunny and there's like spring rain, so like what is another thing that happens in spring? Rainbows! I mean, rainbows happen all the time here. Every year. All the time. But you know, spring. And this one is mention a book that has LGBTQ plus or LGBTQIA plus characters, and I'm picking, of course, the fantasy to beat all fantasies that has a cast of amazing characters that fall into all of those categories, and that is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This book is so good. So basically it is about a queendom who needs an heir, needs a daughter to be born to keep protecting the kingdom from this like dragony force. It's also a kingdom that is split between East and West. They have different religious views. They have different views on this event that caused the queendom to need another heir, and there are so many characters across the board. We have Tane, who's there to protect the queen. We have Queen Sabran herself. We have Yad, who... No, Tane's not there to protect the queen. Tane is the dragon rider. Yad is the one to protect the queen. They're all LGBTQ+, and we have something, Dr. Roos, I don't know if it's Nikolai or Nikolaj, I'm not sure, I can't remember, but Dr. Roos, he's also LGBT, like, it's just packed full of amazing characters. It is so wonderful, and it's also just a really good fantasy book, and it's a standalone, so you should pick it up. And even though it's a brick, they have a paperback out. The paperback is still a brick, but it's smaller than this one, and it's easier to transport around. Read it, but yes. Rainbows. Rainbows. It's also lovely, because this is bright orange and blue, and it's so beautiful. So beautiful. I love this cover so much. So the last one, there's actually 2 more, but the very last question I don't have an answer for, so I'm just gonna leave it and pretend that number 8 is the last of this tag. And that is Spring Awakening, which is the original creator's favorite musical, because it has a cast of dysfunctional characters, so pick a book with a bunch of dysfunctional characters. And I think this is kind of fitting because this movie was just released, a new adaptation of this movie, and that is Emma by Jane Austen. This is chock full of dysfunctional characters. It is hilarious, and I enjoyed this so much when I first read it, but I highly suggest you guys pick this book up. I know a lot of people say that they don't like Emma herself. I love Emma. She's got a great character arc. She's annoying in the beginning, but like, she's great. She's highly enjoyable. But yeah, this book, chock full of dysfunctional characters. And there's a few scenes in here where they're all together, and it just is so fun. Everything goes downhill. It's a train wreck, but like, I think this works very well for this. And it fits because it's also a romance, and it's also a movie that was just released, so I'm really excited to see that movie, actually. I'll probably go see it maybe sometime this week or next weekend, who knows, but Emma. Anyways, friends, that's it from me today. I really hope you enjoyed this Spring Has Sprung book tag. Again, the original creator is down in the down bar. And let me know, actually, I think a good question here. Okay, so for that last one, a cast of dysfunctional characters, let me know down below your pick for this, because I'm always here for a good cast of dysfunctional characters. Like, we also have Six of Crows or the Gilded Wolves, like, you know, just like a big cast of characters that are just dysfunctional and are interesting and have to learn to work together, you know? Let me know down below your answer to that question, because I am super intrigued. But anyways, if you're feeling like it, feel free to like this video. I make content every Tuesday and Friday. Tuesday is my reading vlog, Friday is a regular video, and I also do writing videos. That's fun. I'm trying to be an author one day, and I do bookish content like this. And so, if you're feeling like it, Also hit that little bell icon because then you'll know when I upload. And I will catch you in another video soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.